Riki, thank you for joining us and welcome to Guild of Life TV.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ryan.
I have so many questions for you today, Riki. Um, you often describe yourself as not just a guide, but a friend, which I love. I recently went on a tour of the Amazon and I felt like that guide was not only my friend, but so excited to share their culture with me. It made the trip so much more enriching. Can you tell me about your experience as being a friend rather than a guide?
Yeah, sure. Well, this came because I've been working in tourism for many, many years, and I've noticed that many times guides they kind of feel like one number more. They see their passengers more as numbers
Mm,
than as people,
right.
and I don't quite like that. So trying to be empathetic with the people that I'm bringing, I came up with this way of expressing it. I'm sure you saw it in my website talking about my Amazon trips,
Yes.
the jungle. So yeah, so that's the idea that the person knows that I'm their guest, I'm their friend, their not their guest, their host, their friend, the person who is here telling them in the most honest possible way what is good, what is not good, what's the best thing. And the thing is that I'm not really the guide. In reality, I'm not the guide because I work with local guides who will
Oh,
know the Amazon way better than myself. I only work with native guides, so that's the idea to make sure that I'm the person who is in the middle that is introducing my passengers, my friends, to the people who know the place, no, like nobody else does, who are the native people. So yeah, that's the idea behind that.
so you bring it's a win-win for you and for them because they get the best guiding experience, and then the people that you're bringing them to also get to benefit, right, by sharing their culture and hopefully
Yeah,
infusing some
sometimes
fun.
there's a cultural gap. Now there are some guides who are bilingual and who kind of know other culture, who have traveled, but some guides are not like that. They are still very wise people, very interesting people, but they just don't have the cultural views to maybe connect in a different way with people from other cultures. So that's my role. To make sure that the guides and in general all the locals that they get to know they are they feel well connected and they feel well understood and they understand. So uh, I also sometimes it's a challenge because sometimes you get people that you don't feel like being their friends in my
That's true.
case. And where the way I try to manage that is to through the all the texts, all the explanations, all the details that I try to give in my website. I try to filter and to make sure that the right people come. When I mean
Mm.
the right people, when I say the right people, I mean people who are interested in the culture and in nature, who want to have a real transformational experience and not just to throw in pictures and being able to say that they were in the jungle.
Yeah,
That's the way.
it's not an Instagram vacation, it's a travel and adventure, cultural adventure, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
a,
the idea.
and there's another way that you bring two things together, and that's when you contrast science for profit and science
Mhm.
that's used for transformation. Can you tell me a little bit how you blend those two things or an example of that?
Well, I have a project called Filosofía Perenne, Perennial Philosophy. It's a TikTok channel
Okay.
where I always talk about how science and spirituality are much closer than many people think because we come from religion, cultural, uh, our religious way to understand spirituality. Uh, and religion has been historically separated from science. People tend to think that they are two separate things, like opposing things, incompatible things. But the more I learn about the new forms that the science is taking, the more I understand that it has more to do with spirituality than with religion, because spirituality is a very scientific way to understand life. Dalai Lama says that you don't believe what I say. You don't need to have faith in what I say. If you something that I say resonates with you, that's true. If not, disregard it. And there are many sciences that are like breaking this 3D mold, 3D box that many mainstream scientists still have. That is like believing that there's only what you can see, what you can touch, and what you can measure. But there are many, every time more scientists that have a more open consciousness, and they are directing their science, and they are doing experiments to test a more subtle reality, a more invisible way to understand the world. So that's what I talk about in my project. That's one of my passions, talking about that kind of things.
And it's interesting that you've chosen TikTok. I know that a lot of young people today have deep spiritual feelings, but they are not interested in standard religion. So, going to TikTok is going to really speak to them. That's the way to reach them, I think. Yes?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's why I chose TikTok, because many young people, they have just been taught that religion and spirituality is the same,
Right.
and there's a like a revival of the religious feeling in the world, which doesn't have to be that, because you don't need to go back to religions to be spiritual. You can be spiritual on your own way, with a direct connection with the divine.
Absolutely. And I love the phrase that I hear a lot is Pachamama, the
Mhm.
earth and nature, yeah?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's the spirituality of the
Absolutely.
local, of the First Nations throughout in all the world, like a connection with the all that is, with and the closest to all that is that we have is the Gaia, is our planet, Pachamama.
That's it. Let's talk a little bit about Vilcabamba. It's a bioregion, and you're talking about building autonomy there. Can you tell me a little
Mhm.
bit more about bioregions and why that's important?
Sure. Well, I reside in Vilcabamba, which is a valley that is in the south of Ecuador, in the southern Andes, and that happens to be a haven of expats from all over the world
Oh,
that have found here an amazing place, because nature is incredible here, is very potent. You find flowers, butterflies, quartz everywhere you go. This place is magical.
I can see
Uh,
from your view, it's beautiful. I even see some beautiful red flowers up in the tree over there.
yeah,
It looks gorgeous and so peaceful.
yeah. So the kind of expats that have moved here are usually scientists, artists, poets, people who are very interested, that very interesting, who are not just looking for a place to live cheap. This is inexpensive compared to the north, but it has a lot more to offer.
Right.
So that's like the background information now. So back to your question, bioregionalism is a movement that is very strong in the Pacific coast of North America and in some places in Europe. That what it tries to do is to create regional units that are together not by political divisions but by geographical
Wow.
um, accidents. So, for example, a typical bioregion is around a watershed,
Mm,
and those are regions that have historical ties. Sometimes they coincide with political boundaries, but many times it doesn't. So, here, for example, in Vilcabamba, there's a province called the Loja province, which is way bigger than the Vilcabamba bioregion project.
mhm.
So, there's people who have been talking about this for many years. There have been many meetings in order to create a bioregion. And when I moved here 2 years ago, I wasn't aware of this concept, and I got introduced to it. Walter Mora is one of the leading uh, people who are promoting this idea of a bioregion here, and I work closely with him. Our plan is to establish a bioregion here in Vilcabamba, which would basically what I would do is to gather all the grassroots initiatives in this area in order to give this region uh, like a civilization frame that is better, that does tries to do things better than conventional civilization does, and that affects all areas of life, affects energy, medicine, architecture, economy, and yeah, we're working on that. So we are following the path of something called the Design for Regenerating Earth that was created by Joe Brewer. He
Okay.
has he's one of the leaders of a bioregion in Colombia called Barichara, and what he's done is he's put together all the bioregions in the world and tried to create a way, a method. So any region who wants to be a bioregion has a path to follow and can learn from the errors of people who have done it before. So yeah, we're in that work. Very excited.
That's so it's like boundaries based on geography rather than politics, really, huh?
Exactly. That's the idea.
And it sounds like these people are already there, and you're just finding a way to tie them all together so they can crowdsource their intellect and their knowledge, yes?
Yeah, yeah. In general, in Ecuador, there's a lot of grassroots movement,
Right?
thanks in part to the indigenous movement that is very well organized here, and he has it very clear how societies should govern themselves. And in this place in particular, the presence of this particular type of expats that I'm telling you that are usually people who want to not only live a peaceful life but extend that peace and that beauty to the area surrounding them. So it's a beautiful mix, but it's why I'm here.
It sounds like a beautiful project. Another
Mhm.
thing that you that is really a key part of your work is your work with water. Um, you talk a lot about broken water cycles. Can you tell me a little bit about your project? I'm gonna butcher the name Agua Anya? Ani?
Aini, agua
Aini.
Aini,
Aini. Agua Aini. Can you
agua
tell me a little
Aini.
bit about that? And what is a broken water cycle? What does that look like on the ground?
Sure. Well, Agua Aini is a project that was started by my permaculture teacher. She's from Colorado, Zia Parker. She came out with this project because she found out through her permaculture knowledge that there's something called the small water cycle. That means that, well, first is the standard water cycle, which is what you learn in school. The water from the ocean evaporates, then come the clouds, then comes the rain, and then comes the river, and back to the ocean. That's
Right.
what everybody knows. But uh, they discovered at some point that there was also a small water cycle that is something that occurs within smaller ecosystems, like, for example, a valley. So when a valley has had a lot of deforestation, this small water cycle breaks, and there start to be forest fires, and soil begins to be less fertile.
Mm.
Another thing that breaks this small water cycle is the excessive extraction of water from the underground. Throughout the world, there's something called the phreatic layer that keeps water, and civilization has been taking it out from since beginning of times,
Right.
but traditional cultures have found ways to return this water to the phreatic layer. But modern civilization, used to being excessive in everything it does, it's been pulling out water from the phreatic layer, but without returning it. So
Mm.
the term Aini means reciprocity in Quechua,
Oh.
and agua means water in Spanish. So what agua Aini tries to do is to return water to the ground,
Mm.
and to be like reciprocal, because she gives us water when we return it to her. So how do we do it? We do it with minimal modifications in the landscape. So when rainwater comes, we make sure that it stays for a while. So how would we do that? Basically, creating swales. Swales are like little holes in the on the ground
Okay.
that are not covered by any plastic or any membrane. It's just holes, so that rainwater doesn't stay there forever, but it stays there for a little bit longer, so it doesn't run off and just passes by. So when you make these swales, water will stay there for some hours or sometimes days, and it will permeate to the ground. So what that does basically is to replenish the phreatic layers below the ground, and that's magical because that makes the soil fertile again. Everything becomes green again, and the fire stops desertification, and everybody's happy.
So instead of treating the planet like a never-ending, like we just keep taking, this is
Yeah.
this is like seems like a very practical, next to no cost solution
Yeah, yeah,
to
it's a
putting
very
water.
simple solution because all you need is a shovel and your strength. So there are many examples that are beautiful to know. I'm gonna I sent you a link of a video that I did telling examples of things that in different parts of the world. I did that video with Zia.
Veamos lo que se hizo en África. La Gran Muralla Verde es una iniciativa que consistió en fortalecer la franja de tierra que atraviesa el continente africano en la frontera sur del desierto del Sahara, para prevenir la expansión de la tierra árida. Se recuperó la fertilidad de 300.000 hectáreas que se habían transformado en un completo desierto. Para hacerlo, se plantaron árboles en medio de unos pozos en forma de media luna que sirvieron para retener agua de lluvia de la manera tradicional. En Arabia Saudita, el gobierno impulsó un proyecto de retención de agua que duró 3 años. Al cabo de ese tiempo, el proyecto se paralizó y coincidió con el inicio de una intensa sequía. Cuando terminó la sequía, al cabo de 31 meses de no haber llovido ni una sola gota, se pudo ver que los sistemas de retención de agua fueron eficaces para que resistiera la vegetación que se había plantado durante el proyecto. El área estaba totalmente recuperada para pastoreo, pero el país que lleva la delantera en el manejo del agua de lluvia es India. La Pani Foundation logró inspirar a millares de campesinos a solucionar su sequía con mínimos recursos mediante un incentivo económico para que la comunidad que logre cavar más pozos en un periodo de 6 semanas reciba un premio económico. Todo eventualmente se volvió una enorme celebración de camaradería y gratitud por el agua. Los que no ganaron el premio también ganaron porque están recuperando su tierra.
Pure magic.
That's
So
amazing when
yeah,
you
it's
use.
incredible how you can using very low tech technology make huge changes.
And when you frame things differently for people, how they react, like make it a game, make it a competition, and then
Yeah,
by the end they know the benefit that they might not have seen in the beginning, but they were encouraged
yeah.
because it seemed
So
like
that
fun or a prize or
Yeah,
that is
exactly. So we're trying to do something similar here. We're in the first stage of Agua Aini, but now we are creating model farms so people can go and see how this works. And
right.
in the second stage, we intend to get funding and to make competitions like this so people get involved and suddenly that's very scalable. Not we intend not to do that only in this valley, but also to extend it to other parts of the region. Okay.
That is amazing, and it's great that it's so scalable and so affordable for communities that don't have a lot of money to put into
Mhm.
those kind of things. It sounds like a project that's absolutely got 100% chance of succeeding, which is fantastic.
Mhm.
Another hat that you wear is, as we spoke in the beginning, as a guide, but not just a guide, but a friend. And you take people to the Amazon and Ecuador and to places that you call sites of power. Can you tell me a little bit more about what a site of power is?
A site of power is usually the definition of a place that is very uh, where nature is very strong. First Nations use the term sacred. for example, a sacred mountain or a sacred place or a ceremonial historical place. So that kind of place that usually have a well, I believe that all nature is sacred. So it's not that only those places are sacred, but
Right.
those places are usually they usually have a very strong energy,
Hmm.
and there are places where people can have like unique experiences because of the places are, for example, they have extreme beauty or there is something unique about them.
Right.
So the place that I'm taking visitors to right now is a place called Sarayaku, which is a Quechua community in the heart of the Ecuadorian Amazon.
Oof.
And with this place is unique, not only because they define it as a sacred place, but also because the people who live there, the native inhabitants, they are extremely well connected with nature, and they have it things extremely clear. So when oil exploitation tried to enter that area in the 90s, late 90s, they said no. We don't want that. And they were approached by the government and by the oil companies saying, hey, but you're going to have development. You're going to have hospitals and roads and cars. So you're going to be happy. And do you know what they said? They said, no, we are
Mm.
happy. We don't want that. We've seen how that works. Actually, oil has been in Ecuador since the 70s, and these people had visited the northern Amazon where there have been already the problems that usually come after oil exploitation,
Right.
prostitution, gambling, many social problems,
Sure.
migration. And they said, we don't want that. We want to keep our traditional way of living. They are open to adapting some technologies. For example, they have laptops, they have Wi-Fi, they have internet, but that
Everybody
doesn't mean,
everybody in the world has a cell phone these days. They might not have a
yeah,
bathroom, but they have a cell phone, right? It's fascinating how
yeah.
technology has changed things, huh?
Yeah, and they accept they filter the technology that they accept in their culture, and that they
Right.
usually take wise decisions because a laptop doesn't harm. It's a way to get connected to other parts of the world. So the way and after the I was telling the oil company tried to get in, and
Mhm.
they said no. The oil company said, okay, we're going in anyway if you don't
Yeah.
want it, and the government backed them up, and they said, okay, let's see who wins. So they started a passive resistance uh, strategy in which they work with international media and also national media. They work with organizations, and they called the attention of the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, that
Hmm.
is part of the Inter-American Association of States of the OIS, and they got the commission. They have vinculating power in Ecuador as per a agreement that has been signed by all countries in the Americas except the United States. So the Ecuadorian government had to accept the order of this commission that says that you have to stop bringing oil to these people. If they don't want it, you have to respect their will. And that was a big fight that they won. And the only weapons were their wisdom, their understanding, their intuition that make them uh, have it clear that this was not the right thing for them and the way they could express it to the world. So they're an example for all the First Nations in all the Amazon basin and in all the world, because they were probably the first ones that were able to legally win a battle
Wow.
towards a big oil company that was backed up by the government.
And it's interesting too, it almost has come full circle again about technology and nature, in that because people like them have access to the internet and because of they have their phones and their laptops, it also helps them educate themselves when somebody comes forward to them and says, here's a great idea, we're going to dig up your land. If they don't already know, they can learn more, right? And then they can reach other people to help them. It's wonderful how they can use technology to maintain their lifestyle rather
Yeah,
than
actually, they
push it
they are
forward.
they are not close to technology. They want to have laundry machines. They see that that facilitates life,
Sure.
but they have it clear what is good for them and what is not good for them.
Right.
One thing that, for example, I do in my trips is I choose places that have well-established community-managed tourism
Right.
projects. So community-managed tourism is very strong in Ecuador. Ecuador is a world leader. Ecuador has more than 200 communities that have been prepared to receive visitors, and it all started in the 90s with the Indigenous movement. They found out that tourism was growing in the world, and they said, okay, we want that, but we want that in our terms. So
Right.
they created the structure of the Federation of Community Managed Tourism in Ecuador, and they are basically they want to make sure that if tourism comes, it will help the protection of or conservation of nature. It will help the strengthening of their culture. So they twisted the thing. Tourism can
Right.
be the worst thing that happens to a culture. I've seen
Yes.
that. We
Look at
all seen that
Machu
happen
Picchu. Yeah.
everywhere, exactly.
Yeah.
But they said no, there should be another way to do it, and they've done it. There are amazing tourism projects in Ecuador that are managed by the community, and they haven't interfered. And the opposite, they have strengthened their culture. They are very strong cultures. They have a good economy, so they are not vulnerable to being divided by these oil companies or
Right.
any extractive project. That what they do is they tempt the people with money. So when people get out of poverty by other economic means that are sustainable and they are respectful for their cultures, they are not vulnerable to those things.
It sounds like they really know what they're doing and they're doing it all
Yeah.
right. I can't wait to come and visit. I'd love to go on one of your tours. Um, all right, we're gonna wrap it up here with one final question. Let's look forward. Let's say it's 2050 or 2040. What does that look like in the Vilcabamba region, the bioregion? What would you hope to have achieved by then?
Well, I suppose that the social currency program that is in its initial state right now, it will be ready and running. The reforestation projects that are starting now,
Right,
they have they should have finished, and we should have a green valley. Of course, the small water cycle should be fully recovered.
right,
There should be options where people can have medical attention outside of the system, because the Vilcabamba happens to be a haven of alternative practitioners.
right.
Well, I don't usually like the word alternative. Integrative is a word that I think is more real, because it's a kind of medicine that tries to go to the roots of the problem instead of just healing the symptoms.
Right.
And there's a lot of that kind of medical doctors here. Uh, there should be more options for an integral education that not only educates the rational mind, but also the senses, the intuition of the person, the spirituality. There should be options of financing and microcredits for the young people. There should be the recycling program that is starting now. It should be up and running, and we should have sovereign sources of energy.
So you
But
have
basically,
a plate full of projects that should be absolutely coming to fruition by then. And that's
yeah,
not very long in the future.
absolutely. We shouldn't have to wait that long to
No,
see all that flowering.
it doesn't take
Right.
long to affect change, really, does it?
Of course, and right now there are many funds out there that are very interested in promoting these bioregions. We don't know how longer we will keep the current civilization. We don't know how soon the national boundary will break. We don't know
Absolutely.
when the World Economic Forum will guide us into have a authoritarian world government. So it's good to have these regional organizations so people can react and be stronger, not so much in the hands of politicians.
It sounds like a better alternative, but it's always good to have an exit strategy too, isn't
Yeah,
it? And one that's dependent on something that's a little more stable than politics. Um,
yeah.
I want to thank you for your time, Ricky. This has been such an interesting, enlightening conversation. I'm going to include your links below if anybody wants to contact you. Um, but for you right now, what would be the best way to offer the support to any of one of your projects that you want to shout out?
Well, a good way to support is to join one of our trips. No, some
Absolutely.
people have feel like scared because Ecuador passed from being the one of the safest countries in all Americas to one of the most dangerous.
Mm,
But danger is very focalized in some big cities. The areas that we work in are very safe. Cuenca, which is the third city in Ecuador, has just been designated the safest city in Latin America.
wow.
So Ecuador is a land of contrasts.
Yes, of course.
And yeah, another way to help is to support the Aguaini project. Yeah, I can send you the Patreon link for that.
I will
And
include them
in
all at the
my
end of the video. Yeah,
yeah, and in my website, there's a bigger explanation of all the projects that are involved. There's a donation link if you want to make my day.
perfect.
Be my guest.
Ricky, thank you so much for your time. And thank you for sharing your beautiful backyard with us. And I hope that you get lots of people signing up on your trips and we talk again soon.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.